Here we go on 6. 6 says, consider the curve given by this equation. It can be shown that the derivative is this. Okay, so easy reading. They give me the formula and they give me the derivative. Keep reading. Part A, write an equation with a line tangent to the curve. This is the curve at this point. So in part A, I would have thought my favorite picture. The point I'm interested in is -1, 1. The line tangent goes here. And remember that formula. Questions so far? A little chance to earn extra pebbles here. So I'm going to ask the whole room. Everybody can answer. Huge concept, gets tested a lot on the AP test. It's worth a lot of points in a lot of different places. When I see this picture, I'm always thinking of 3 equations. 3. Raise your hand if you can tell me what 3 equations am I thinking of. I'll pay you 2 pebbles for this. What 3 equations am I thinking of when I see this picture? Brittany? Equation for the curve, which in this case is right here. Keep going, Brittany. Right here, that's the second equation I think of. The third equation is the line tangent equation. Everybody knew that? Grab yourself 3 pebbles quick. Okay, look up again. Hey, 4 pebbles available. Listen. Raise your hand, you can tell me, hey, what is the purpose of this equation right here? Come on, show your hand. We said there's 3 equations we're worried about. The equation of the curve. What is the purpose for the equation of the curve? Okay, everybody knows? Kennedy? Got you up guard, you're counting. You're okay. What's the purpose of the equation of the curve? No, that's a good answer. Like, we would use this to find this equation for sure. We do that all the time. I was thinking it was slightly different, but there's nothing wrong with that. Edith?
Is it because we can do x1 and y1?
Not as complete as we'd like, but super close. What's the main purpose of this? Like, what do you need to have memorized? What's the purpose of this, Casey?
It would be to find the y coordinate when you have the x one. Like if they didn't do it.
Yeah, that's decent. Memorize this. Look, hey, really simple. The main purpose of the curve is to find all xy pairs on the curve. You need to memorize that. The purpose of the curve is to find all xy pairs on the curve. I gave a reminder right here. Right at the very top, golden notes, left center. Got the favorite picture. Here's f of x. F of x finds points on the curve. That's the purpose of that. The purpose of the tangent line equation is to find the points on the tangent line. Or sometimes you use it to find the slope of the tangent line. The purpose of f prime is to find the slopes on the curve. Your hand was raised. Give yourself 2 more for participating. Better lost track of the question.
This is what I'm talking about.
I've already got the point. I need the slope. So I just use my slope equation and compute the slope to be this. So if you correctly computed the slope, they give you 1 point. If you wrote down the tangent line equation, they give you a 2nd point. Oops, just 1 more point there. Sorry, I wrote that wrong. If you did not specifically designate the slope, but you have this equation written out perfectly, they will give you both points. Michael?
Oh, I was going to ask, is that calculated the slope actually?
Yeah, they'll give you that. Maddie?
I just kept it as x subtracting.
They're totally fine. Yeah, the rule is always, you don't have to do any numeric simplification. Anybody else? Please.
Does it mean the same thing if when you're calculating the slope, if you put like
notation. Like they might give you 1 out of 2, but I would not use that notation. You might lose some points. Yeah, this doesn't, to be, how should I say, correct? Yeah, you never want to write the right answer. It doesn't. I get why you're thinking that, but it's just the wrong notation. So yeah. The notation's funny, honestly, because if you had been the person who invented this, that might have been the right notation. Because notation is just something somebody invented. So your thinking's not bad at all. It's just that's not what they use. Anybody else? Part B. Find out coordinates. Hey. Look, read slow. When it says coordinates, that means x and y. Like if you notice other problems, it says find the x coordinate. No, they want both. On the curve, where the tangent to the curve is vertical. Okay, tangent means slope at a point. To have a vertical slope, you have to end up with some number divided by 0. That's what causes the slope to be vertical. Number divided by 0. So what we're going to pay attention to here, hey, don't talk, is that. We don't care about the numerator, we just want the slope to be 0 on the bottom. We have a formula for the slope, so we want that to be 0. So let's look at part B here. So we set that equal to 0, and it's another great example of, they don't talk, I can't hear. Yeah, that would be decent, thank you. All right, good work, thank you, man. It's all good. I get a point for just doing that. Like just recognizing that vertical tangent means I need the denominator of my slope formula to be 0. So 1 point for doing that. Go ahead.
Okay, so I wrote, instead of writing the top line, I wrote the second line out.
This one here?
Yes.
They'll give you 2 points for that.
Okay.
Because this was the second point. This is an example of a problem. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I find this one to be a difficult problem. Like I knew this, that came pretty fast. What to do from there, I'm not really sure. I'm like supposed to somehow figure out x and y pairs here. So I kind of instinctively did what, how do I say this? Different ways to work algebra here. Most common method for algebra is just isolate what you're trying to find, like x equals. But we have 2 variables, so that's not going to work very well. With 2 variables, we've got to look more for substituting. So that's why they wrote it like this. Actually, that's not the second point yet, sorry. Michael, you would have the 1. I misread something. Give me a second. So the reason this is helpful is you now said, okay, x can be substituted with 3y squared if we need to. So what they did is they went back to this equation up here, and they said, hey, let's, instead of writing x, let's plug in this value here, 3y squared. So that's how they get this equation. And they gave you a second point for writing that. Okay? Now, all eyes on the board. You have to prioritize your study for the AP test. I think you should make it a reasonable priority to remember that a vertical slope means the denominator is 0. That would have earned you a point. After that, hope for the best on something like this. I'm serious. Like, think about substituting. It really is a good method. So I said, okay, if we rearrange, I get something I can substitute. I plug that into this other equation. 1 second, I get this. If I do a little algebra now, I'm going to get y cubed minus 3y cubed is equal to 2. I keep going. Y cubed minus 3y cubed is negative 2y cubed. That equals 2. Divide both sides by negative 2. So y cubed is equal to negative 1, which means y is negative 1. Because the cube root of negative 1 is negative 1. So it did allow me to find y by just doing a couple of substitutions. But I'm flying kind of blind on a problem like this. I really am. This I knew. From there, I just have to look for things to substitute or some other kind of algebra, factoring, whatever. And if you can't figure out the last 2 points, I don't think you should stress at all. This one I find to be a bit weird. So, Michael.
So I got confused as to how many points I would be single value if I wrote the second line.
I think you just get one. I said that badly. Just one. Brandon.
Maybe you can look at this. I think I did slightly differently.
This one's okay. I'll give you 1 point for that. Let's keep going. I'm not sure. 1 point for the one thing you have, sure. Now you know the value for y. You can go back up to here and identify that the x coordinate is equal to 3 times the y coordinate squared. So x equals 3 times the -1 squared. So x is equal to 3. Which means the point we're interested in is a 3, -1. That's why, Brandon, when I glance at your paper, now maybe I look too fast, but you're not finding the point. You found some other point. Like, that's the only point that works. There's no other answer that works. Really. I can look at it after we finish it and see where your error is. But anybody else? Part C. They don't talk. Evaluate the second derivative at the point where x equals -1, y equals 1. So I'm supposed to take the derivative again. So here's the work. Okay, I'll talk through it. Look, it's the quotient rule. So if you write down the bottom, multiply by the derivative of the top, that'd be dy dx. Minus the top, to take the derivative of the bottom, bring down the 2, multiply by 3, that gives you 6y, y prime, minus 1. Any questions on where the numerator comes from? We're just using the quotient rule. Divided by the bottom squared. If you get to there, you get 2 points. It is a really, really good example of just keep moving little by little and don't worry about what comes next. Because if you freeze up and go, this is too hard, you don't get any points. Just do a little thing, you get 2.
At what point can you plug in
The points?
yeah, when
Everybody. You can't plug in the numbers until you have resolved all of the d, dx, d, dy, that sort of thing. So at this juncture, I can't put in the value for y here, and the value for x here, because there's no d, dx operator here at all. Here I can't put in a number for y, because that's not what that means. That means derivative of y. So what I had to do is look over here. I remembered from part A that at this point, -1 and 1, the value of dy dx at -1 and 1 turned out to be 1/4. So 1/4 takes the place of the dy dx. That you can't, hey, look at me. It has never been this way. You've never plugged in a y value here ever.
Yeah, I understood that. I just,
Go ahead.
like, after I got that equation written down, I was like, what?
Just kind of froze up a
I didn't
little
know how to
bit.
do anything
It's okay.
with it.
It's okay. Hey, think of it this way, like positively thinking. On this section, you've got half the points. So you're already at a 3.5 pace, so it's not bad. But yeah, it's not really that much more to just think, okay, wait a minute. I need to plug in the value of x and y, and the other derivative, I can find its value as well. So not a huge step. Good question. Please, Mark.
You have to show the computation.
You do not. This was in part A. I only get 1 page on the screen, so I recopied it to remind you.
Okay.
But you could simply grab the number from part A. Michael. Let me finish in on you're good.
So I just looked at what happened yesterday when
it still says y prime. Yeah, they're giving you the point here for remembering that y prime is 1/4. So you just get 2 out of 4. You just get the 2 out of 4. Yeah, the third point, hey, the third point was for remembering to plug in, everybody looking for it, everybody, come on. Yeah, the third point was to remember to plug in 1/4 here and 1/4 here. At that juncture, you can just leave it. You don't have to do anything else. So so really this is the last 2 points of this box here. Yeah, just stop there. That's 2 more points. You don't have to go further. Please, go.
As long as there's no variables in your equation, you can always stop at that point. Like, once you plug in all the numbers.
Yeah, you can just stop. As long as all that remains is like arithmetic, or even finding sine or cosine or square root or natural log, you can leave it. What you can't stop at is like right here, because there is a value for dx. And you can't stop if it says something like f of 1. You have to go find that f of 1 value, that sort of thing. Good question. Please. True, you are. Yeah, they might give you 1 because it was worth 2 and they can see that you're. It's really just that. And then after that, probably substitute 1/4. Oh, you plugged in equation. Oh, I got it. You did substitute properly. That's a Good job, you guys.